This Jordan Neely situation is one that I was honestly trying to avoid talking about because I already know it. I'm sure you already know what this situation really is. It's just the higher ups trying to get us desperately to continue to divide and conquer, to continue this race war, to continue the tension between the entire country to get higher and higher. That's what they want. That's what people like AOC want. That's what everybody who tweets out and says things similar to what AOC wants, unless they're just a bot and they just, follow AOC. But if they're the people who are on the equal level or higher than AOC, that's what they want to happen. The people who are under AOC, the people who follow AOC on Twitter and actually, care what she has to say, take what she says to heart and things like that. Those are the people who are just bots. They're just NPCs. They're just going to go with whatever AOC says goes. And this tweet right here is so ironic. It's so hypocritical. Let's check this out. This was kind of the tweet that started it all. Not really started it all, but kind of really stoked the flames of this entire thing. AOC says, despite what Fox News wants you to believe, being afraid of an unarmed person is not a reason to kill them. These people are so bad faith. Like, that's an obviously true statement. Nobody can disagree. Being afraid of an unarmed person is not a reason to kill them, obviously. But whenever that person is threatening people around them and you're in an enclosed space, is not really an escape route, then maybe it is at that point, especially when they're saying, I'm ready to die and things like that. But we'll get into that later on in the video. We should never accept a society where such rationale becomes normal, especially when powerful incentives exist in politics and media to keep people afraid of each other. The irony in that. The irony in that is absolutely insane. She is one of the main culprits of this, one of the main people stoking the flames of people being afraid of each other and people being mad at each other and the divide and conquer narrative that they're trying to push. She is one of the main people doing that. The whole purpose of them making this Jordan Neely situation, which should be a non-story, it was a person that got subdued and unfortunately lost their life. Obviously, I don't want anyone losing their life unless they deserve to. And I don't think, unless he committed extreme acts of violence, which he actually did commit or attempt to commit some really heinous crimes in the past, and we'll bring that up in this video as well. But unless he's convicted of those crimes and, he's sentenced to the death penalty, I don't think that we should be out there killing people. But I do think that we should be subduing people whenever they could do harm to others. And if in the act of subduing these people who are threatening to and saying that they're going to commit these acts of violence, if in subduing those people, they end up dying, and it's just, that he just needed to be subdued to the point of death because he just wouldn't stop. If that's the case, then that's not an issue. That's a non-story. That's somebody being a good Samaritan, saving others from not just being afraid, but from possibly crimes, acts of violence being committed against them. Who knows what Jordan Neely would have done? He was saying over and over again, I am ready to die. So who knows what he was willing to do in that moment? And the fact that AOC is spinning this and so many others are spinning this into, despite what Fox News wants you to believe, being afraid of an unarmed person is not a reason to kill them. It's so ironic what AOC is saying, especially this last part, when powerful incentives exist in politics and media to keep people afraid of each other. It's so ironic, man. But this myth-informed account says, why isn't the media covering the fact that Daniel Penny was complimented by other passengers and also put Jordan Neely in the recovery position? Seems like key details to leave out. Let's check out this video right here. So we can't watch the whole thing for obvious reasons, but as you can see, he's putting him in a recovery position, and they even had people checking his pulse, and you could see him breathing later on in the video after the chokehold was finished. And I don't know, obviously I'm not an expert on these types of things, but here is the video of him breathing. If you want to go check it out yourself, I can't show the video for obvious reasons, but he's breathing here. And then Jordan is still moving and appears the other man may have checked his pulse on his wrist. These people didn't want him to die. It's obvious that they didn't want him to die. It's obvious they were trying to subdue him. And in the act of that, unfortunately, the guy lost his life. I'm not advocating that it was right to take his life. I don't think that anybody in the situation thought that they wanted to take his life, that thought that he deserved to have his life taken, but he did deserve to be subdued. Whenever you're threatening acts of violence against people and saying that you are ready to die in the process of committing these acts of violence, you need to be subdued. And if that ends up in death, if you're not subduing him over the top, if you're not bashing his face in, you're just putting him in a chokehold and subduing the man, and he ends up dying because he's not willing to stop, then it is what it is at that point. You also have this tweet from Ian Miles Chong. He says, I bet you had no idea Jordan Neely went to jail for the attempted kidnapping of a 7-year-old girl. As for what he intended to do with her, I'll let you think about that for a minute. And it's once again another person who was just a bad human being. And we also have some other videos and other things that's coming out about Jordan Neely that I also can't show on video, but I'll show you the tweets at least. But also, like, another person who is becoming a martyr for this whole white versus black, this race war stuff that they're trying to stoke, that AOC is trying to stoke. It's another person who's just bad, just a bad guy who ends up dying in a situation where he was trying to commit crimes, trying to commit acts of violence, and saying that he was willing to die to do so. Another situation like that is really it's going to cause riots. It's going to cause a lot of tension in the whole country. They're trying, like, if you don't think they're doing this on purpose, if you don't think they want the riots, if you don't think that they want the protests and everybody being angry at each other on social media, then you're just dumb. You're just dumb, or you're not looking. Your head's buried in the sand. One of the two. You just don't want to know. But like, if you're following them blindly, if you're following people like AOC, if you're going in the streets, if you're going in the subways and you're protesting, you're lighting things on fire, because eventually it's going to get to that. Eventually it's going to get just how the BLM riots were. Everybody's going to be looting, everybody's going to be setting everything on fire, and then bad things are going to happen. And if you're one of those people who are in the streets, if you're one of the people who are in the subway holding up signs, lighting things on fire, and eventually going to be looting things, you are a bot. You are an NPC. There's no way of getting around it. Because if you're going to keep doing this every single election cycle, if you're going to keep going out there and keep protesting and keep rioting for these people who are just straight up bad guys, just bad dudes, threatening acts of violence and saying that they're willing to die to do it, like, if you're going to go and protest and riot and do all these other things that AOC and these others are calling for, you're a bot. You're just an absolute idiot. And there's nobody can save you at that point. This tweet from Amiri King says, "Here is your new Lord and Savior, Jordan Neely, taking a shit and walking around with his cock out. Mental health services failed him and he died as a result." That's true. Mental health services definitely did fail him. And it's unfortunate that we have people like this in these situations in our society. It really is unfortunate that we have homeless guys who are just going crazy, man. It's really sad. I'm not lacking of empathy for the guy. I definitely, I feel really bad for him. I feel really sad that he had to go out that way. Really like losing his mind, homeless. It's very obvious that he wasn't well in the head. But he also says you can't blame someone for restraining a psycho who just threatened to murder an entire subway car full of people. You just can't. You just can't, man. You can't blame that guy. To me, this is a non-story, but the left, of course, people like AOC, the higher-ups, they want to spin it into a story. They want to make Jordan Neely into another martyr just like George Floyd, and they want to have another round of protests and riots. Why? Because the election is coming up soon. Why? Because it's 2023 and the election is next year. It's the same thing, and we're living life on repeat at this point. You already know there's going to be a new pandy. There's going to be another reason why you have to stay home and why we have to use mail-in ballots. We already know that's going to happen. We just know. Like, if you don't know that, then you're, like I said, your head is buried in the sand. You're just dumb. Or you just can't see it coming because you have a low IQ. I don't know. But we all know that it's going to come. We all know that the next election cycle, a lot more weird things are going to happen, very similar to the last time. But it's just going to get weirder and weirder every single election cycle because people aren't going to listen to the same stuff that they listened to last time. People realized, oh, last time I was really stupid for following these rules. I was really stupid for going out and protesting, in these BLM riots and protests because BLM just used it to buy bigger mansions and nicer cars. So this time they have to make everything bigger, more extravagant, and more captivating than the last time. And that's exactly what they're going to do. I think this should be a non-story, but like I said, people like AOC and the others are making it into a story. They're making Jordan Neely into yet another martyr. Let me know what you guys think, though. What do you think is going on here? Do you think this is truly people with a devious and insidious agenda like I think it is? Or do you just think it's people blowing this out of proportion and being ignorant to the situation? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments.